Hey folks, let's talk about how this immigration thing is going for Mr. Holman. He ain't doing so well. Okay, listen, ladies and gentlemen, Holman gets up and he screams at the top of his blackened lungs about how there's a leaker. And the thing is, the leaker is Mr. Holman. And how is he leaking? Because he keeps making broadcasts of his intentions publicly on the media. He's right there, any headline he can grab, wants to get in the picture, and he's actually shooting himself in the foot. Now, my biggest fear or concern was in being able to kind of see what's kind of developing. That, at what point does this go from getting rid of illegal immigrants to let's start hurting Americans, all right? And it's already occurring. And I'll give you a couple examples. Not just illegal immigrants live in these apartment complexes, okay? People like you and me, everyday Americans, also live in these apartment complexes. So imagine your feelings if some point early in the morning you got people banging on your door asking you, do you have drugs or guns in your house? No. This has never been the case in America. This is a Gestapo tactic. Okay, so they're going to come in, big army, all in mass, body armor with guns and very threatening kind of posture and posturing that isn't really good for anyone. And they just go door to door. And Americans, most of us, we know our rights. We don't even open the door, okay? But it's a fishing expedition. Now you got a situation where we have a guy who's hey, we'll just send all our American guys out of the prison. We'll send them elsewhere. You know why? Because this extraordinary rendition is a thing, ladies and gentlemen. We have racists here that they're out of the closet, man. Saying things that they would never want said against themselves. I mean, imagine if suddenly we decided that the problem was the racists and we did the same things to them that they're doing to us. This wouldn't end well, not at all. But the main thing is, ladies and gentlemen, if you don't pay attention, this is all the beginning of a bigger sweep, and it's going to get worse, and eventually they're going to fold under. And they've got so much hoopla and so much hype that nobody will know what's really going on. And this could be our brothers and our sisters and our mothers and our fathers. Literally, at what point do they go from asking us to kicking down our doors and coming into our homes? And so, ladies and gentlemen, you have to be careful here. This is it's kind of like, you don't want to wish these things on other people because you don't know at any point when what you're wishing on other people will come back and actually impact you personally, and it's not funny. Okay? This happened before in history. For those of us who don't like history class or don't pay attention, it happened in Germany, all right? And we fought a world war over that. So, to see this kind of stuff happening in our own nation, well, you really gotta put the brakes on that. So, maybe in another video, I'm going to talk about some aspects of how you can put the brakes on it. But the number one thing, look, ladies and gentlemen, is you have to identify the actual cancer. So, like, when you go to the doctors, what's the first thing the doctor is going to say? Let's take a look. Let me see. All right? So, let's take a look under the hood here. I'm not a PR representative. I didn't go to college. This isn't where I want to be. I'm not making money off of these videos, and I'm actually kind of putting myself out there along with other people because this evil can only triumph if none of us speak up, right? So, let's get down to the basic facts. So, what most Americans don't realize, and for some reason we don't seem to want to look at, is the fact that we have so many officials now that have some form of immunity in their jobs that they literally can say one thing and do another with a clear conscience, because you and me, the American people, we can't do anything about it. We have no avenue or alternative to address our grievances when things like this happen. All right? And these people, will surprise you. I don't know how better to explain it. It's not like you can't look the information up. You don't have to have a college degree to do it. You just have to have the time and the reason. And so, like, the first thing you need to understand is not only does our president have absolute immunity in anything he does, if he considers it part of whatever, it's really broad and he gets away with it. But did you know that the very justices on the Supreme Court that gave him and upheld his immunity themselves have immunity? But it gets worse, ladies and gentlemen. Most people aren't aware, Democrat or Republican, because they're not coming out and saying, hey, I have immunity. But we have congressional immunity. And that means that the congressmen and the senators, they don't have to uphold the Constitution because they have immunity. So, yeah, they can make up any blanket or broad or vague reason for, hey, well, those constitutional rights that people have don't matter to me because, it's in the name of security, right? Safety. They could give you a whole slew of reasons why they might vote against what is clearly a constitutional right of any individual in the United States of America. People don't realize that, they're getting ready to give the cops on the street absolute immunity. How's that going to work out for any disgruntled veterans that may have a run-in with these fucking jackbooted thugs? Not well. So you have that going on. You have prosecutors in this country that it's actually stated, if you go look it up, that they can hurt you, they can lie to you, they can fuck you over because they themselves have absolute immunity. And we can even take the VX problem here. The VX problem, we'll just call it the ick problem, the stick, right? These companies like Pfizer and Bayer and stuff that make these vaccines, these VXs, the sticks, whatever you want to call them, they themselves have blanket immunity. So that means if they stick you and you get sick or something develops a number of years into the fucking problem, unfortunately, there's no redress of your grievances. So, what I'm really here trying to encourage people to do is, understand the full scope of what's going on around you. But you have to understand why our officials that are currently empowered are getting away with the stuff they're doing. And then I caution people, don't get wrapped up in the kabuki theater here, So when you see things like, the senators go into the Department of Education and they get locked out of their own building, that it's not stunning. But what they're not telling you as we're going, who will save us? Will the courts do it? Will this? No, ladies and gentlemen, American citizens, fellow Americans, whatever sovereign you want to call yourself or whatever, you have to understand what has happened here. You have to understand that immunity, though it doesn't mean that these guys are out robbing banks, they have no need to rob a bank. They're wealthy beyond belief. Have immunity, so when they make decisions that are critical to our lives, they're not worried about us being able to turn the table. So that's tyranny, ladies and gentlemen. That is the textbook definition of tyranny. There should never have been, and never should be, and never needs to be anyone in any official position for any reason whatsoever that enjoys immunity. Now you have all this immunity and nobody wants to look it up, so you have 400 million, 300 plus million people screaming and yelling about their rights being violated. They're so wrapped up in the moment, they don't understand the why. And I still am waiting. And you know what? I don't know if I'll be able to do it because, hell, they won't let a guy that is a critical thinker or doesn't really go by their plans into a situation where a guy like me can say, hey, I know you're a Democrat or a Republican, but could you explain to us, the people, why you enjoy immunity? And just let them answer the question. And you're going to find out that there's two things that are going to happen. You see, because the elite that are running the show, they know that most people, in their opinion, are too stupid to understand what I'm talking about. But they also realize that as long as we keep everybody divided and hyped up and going after hypothetical problems that they don't understand, that nobody's going to ask that question that would put the fear of God in us. And what would put the fear of God in these senators and congressmen and even your dear leader is that should it become apparent to the people that we have a bigger problem than just a president running around with immunity, we have a whole bureaucracy running around with immunity, and that doesn't work out very well in the end, ladies and gentlemen. So let's talk about what you can do about it. So, this is America. And where we're at in the cycle of civilization is unpredicted. There's a lot of people. Spengler said it well. How do you defeat the moneyed interest? And there's only one way, and folks, that's blood. And that just about says it the way it is. At some point, people are going to catch on, and then you're going to have to look at it like, what's the percentage of these people running around doing this to us? And you're going to find out it's a very small dot. And then you're going to probably end up, blood will flow. Look, the moneyed interests are not going to go without blood. Right? They're going to keep playing our heads, and they're going to keep making these laws and protecting themselves. And eventually, after enough people are hurt and the pain gets big enough and enough people are broke and homeless and whatnot, eventually it's going to come down to death's door. And when you're up against death's door, there's only one way going forward. And we can see many, many examples of that historically throughout the centuries prior. So we're going to use the case of France. Look what happened in France. All right. The trick is not to become the Robespierre here. Robespierre's error was he got it going. He didn't get out of the way, and therefore he lost his head too. But I digress. We're in a big, big, big problem here in America, and you have useful tools everywhere. If anyone's paid attention to the 11 minutes of me discussing this, it's not so good as Walter Cronkite or none of these. And I'm so frustrated because I see what's going on and I can't seem to get my message out. But I dare anybody begin the communications process that people need to be looking at the reasons, not it was done, but let's figure out why it's being done. And I guarantee if you look into this immunity thing, you're going to be surprised. And once you get a grasp of that, look, little brothers and sisters, there are more out there, and we need to go get them. Protesting and peaceful isn't going to work, ladies and gentlemen. Peaceful is just not going to work. That's what they want you to do. What they don't want you to do is get out your pitchfork and start putting them to the times. And that may need to occur. If you're one of these people that work for an organization such as a police officer, or federal agent, or whatnot, take your buyout offer, get out of the way, because this is going to come to a bad end. And even though you feel you have the technology and the guns and all the stuff, and it's exciting, and you can go out and pop the American people and cuff us up and whatnot, there's going to come a day, mark my words, when the majority of the American people ain't going to see you as heroes, and you're going to end up getting as bad a time as you're delivering, and you're going to end up being blood in the streets. And once we get to that point, it don't matter about the court system or the laws or anything, because that's going to be blood in the streets too. So here's how you fix this. You don't want to be putting yourself between us, the people, and them, the people that have caused this. You don't. Go home, take care of your families. Nobody really wants to inherently hurt you. Nobody really wants to see what's going to happen. I don't even want that, but I also realize that it may come down to that. So, think about that. Think about your families. Realize that just because you can wear a mask and a badge doesn't mean you can't be found any different than you go out and find people. If people should ever turn against you, they're going to go find you. All right? People protesting, let's change tactics a little bit. Let's get the people outside of these people's houses. These congressmen and these senators need to be looking out their windows and seeing millions of people with gleaming, shiny pitchforks out there ready to use them. Because it's the only language they understand. They don't understand anything else. They feel protected, insulated, and at this point, maybe they are a little bit, but that could change. Point of what I'm saying here is, y'all know the problem, especially you that are doing the doing. Do you realize the outcome historically is always the same? Good will triumph over evil, and if you're on that side, you will get ate. Basically, messages like this Should be every day, and people with much better oratory skills than me should be up speaking. But we need to send you a message, and the message is that should things go revolutionary, and I'm not talking civil war here, you know, you're gonna want to have gotten out of the way, because, like I said, just doing your job was never an excuse. You can hang just like the Germans did at the end of World War II. And I do believe that this country is coming to a point where that may be what needs to be done. So go read your history. Go learn about some shit. Don't just go out there and start throwing bracelets on people. Don't think it's okay to come kick down our doors. It's not. I said my piece. It's up to you, the average citizen, to listen and do your own homework. The question is, will we become slaves, or will we remain a free people? That's the real question. The money doesn't matter here. Money will only buy you so much, and then there comes a point where money will buy you nothing.